Hi, hey there, Jennifer here. Today I want to talk about if the R7 is going to be a good upgrade to the EOS R. This is also going to be specifically related to wedding shooters. So if you are on the EOS R and you're thinking about upgrading, or if you are thinking about the EOS R instead of the R7 or vice versa, this is the place to be. Firstly, I don't own the R7. I'm thinking about the R7, but I'm also wondering if it really is an upgrade to the EOS R. You really don't hear anything about the EOS R anymore. It's pretty old at this point in the camera world, but those of us still shooting on it, hey, we still exist. It's a full frame camera, right? I'm looking at some of the specs on the R7 and I'm asking myself, is this an upgrade? Is this something I should consider? I've never considered going back to a crop sensor, but it's intriguing. So I want to put the specs up against the EOS R and see what anybody thinks. I'm gonna use my handy dandy notes here. So here we go. So the R7 is $1,500, which is actually $100 less than the EOS R currently is priced for. I don't see the EOS R changing price anytime soon because it's been $1,600 for like 2 years, something like that. We're going from 35 megapixels on the R7. We have 30 on the EOS R. That's not even remotely enough to make me want to switch. The R7 has 4K 60 and you're only getting 4K 30 out of the EOS R. This is probably like the number 1 or 2 reason why I would consider buying this camera. 10-bit on the R7, 10-bit through HDMI on the EOS R. I'm not really overly concerned with that. You got C-Log 3 on the 7 as opposed to C-Log on the EOS R. This is huge for me. IBIS on the R7 versus digital stabilization on the EOS R. So the digital stabilization, I think I'm actually using that, believe it or not, which means the crop is insane. I don't even know if that's on right now. This is a 40 millimeter lens and I'm probably about 4, maybe 5 feet from the lens. This is a pretty tight shot. I'm willing to bet the stabilization is on. I'm gonna pop it up on the screen so you can see. If the digital IS is on in this EOS R right now, we're probably sitting at like 80 millimeters on this 40 millimeter lens. So obviously the crop, and there's multiple crops that are gonna be happening. This is the problem that I'm about to get into on the R7. Dual slot. Yes, I am currently shooting client work on a single slot camera, 2 single slot cameras. Come after me if you want to. That's where I'm at. So that's huge for me. Dual slot in the R7, single slot in the EOS R. Dual pixel AF2 on the R7. It only says dual pixel AF on the EOS R. So I'm pretty sure that I'm probably working with some wonky ass autofocus. I don't know a ton about the specs on the autofocus. I know some, but it's better, basically. I don't have an issue with the autofocus on the EOS R. I know it well, so that's not enough for me to switch. And any camera is going to have better autofocus anyway, so it's not on my top. Then, of course, we come to the crop sensor versus the full frame. I'm not really one of these people who's like, you have to have a full frame camera. And I feel like that's kind of disappeared over the last few years. It used to be such a big deal to people. It's kind of faded. But I wonder how much of that was actually due to the function of the camera. So for instance, Kayla, my spouse, who also shoots with me, she's on Fujifilm. Great camera. She's got the X-T4. So many things about that camera that are amazing, but it's a crop, right? So a couple weekends ago, we are in a hotel room shooting Getting Ready, and the rooms are fairly small, not the smallest I've been in, decent sized rooms, but not the largest, probably fairly average, something you may expect to be in for Getting Ready. There's no one in the room yet, And we're just kind of grabbing stuff and staging some shots with her camera. She's got a 35 on, which is probably 48 maybe with the crop. And she cannot get some of the shots because you got to figure you're in a hotel room with your back up against a bed that you can't move. We've moved all furniture that we can at this point. She can't get the shot. I actually handed over my EOS R to her, which also had a 35, a true 35 on it. And she got the shot with my 35 on the EOS R. And that's a big deal because most of my clients come from weddings. And the odds of me being in a small room in a house or a small room in a hotel or something like that for getting ready are pretty good. So it is a big deal to me. I'm just envisioning in my mind the lenses that I have going on the crop and thinking, I don't know if I can do that. Something that actually concerns me worse than a crop sensor on a 35 in a hotel room is video. So on the EOS R, when I go into 4K, there's a considerable crop. That's what we're doing right now. We're in 4K on a 40 millimeter lens. And like I said, I'm 5 feet from the lens. This is pretty tight. I can't really go much of anywhere or else this image is going to be pretty in your face. So I'm thinking about a crop sensor camera in 4K. There's going to be a crop in 4K on the crop, right? So now you're looking at, oh, I put a 35 millimeter on there and I'm at, well, let's see. I'm at 55 and then a crop in 4K. I'm at what, 75 millimeters on a 35, which I don't know. Maybe you are in a spot where you need the length. But what if you are close and 35 is as wide as you've got? I don't like using the 24 to 70 unless I have to because it just doesn't look good as the prime. Even the LEF 24 to 70, the new one, does not look as good as that damn RF 35 that's like $500 or something. It just doesn't look as good. So you're looking at 50 millimeter about being, if I'm on a 24 to 70, being as far as I can get if I'm crunched and I need something wide. That's not good. It's not good. I'm a huge believer in prime lenses. I often, if I get stuck on a zoom, I don't even zoom in or out. I end up stuck on a focal length because I've forgotten about zooming. I'm so used to moving my body and I prefer that. Maybe I would just get used to the crop and I would move my body. I don't know. I like to stick on that 35 for most of my portraits. I do a 70 to 200 if I'm in the aisle during the ceremony. I don't touch that lens the rest of the day, like I'm sure many of us don't. It's kind of reserved for that moment where you do want to step back during a wedding. And on the crop, that might be all right. You won't have to go to 200 if you're on a crop with a 7200. I think that might be okay. So for me, it's just the photo video aspect has to line up. And that's what's so tough with all the new cameras that come out across the board is having photo and video line up well. Because if I wasn't doing video, the EOS R is fine. I don't feel the need to upgrade to another camera, but we are doing a lot of video. I mean, I'm just in my office in my house with my tripod backed as far up against the wall as I possibly can, and I've got about an arm's length plus maybe 12 inches. I'm about 5'7" that I have behind me, and there's a desk right here. So once again, I can't afford to crop much more than this unless, you want to be looking up my nose or something. So I know a lot of people are comparing this camera right now to an R6. I'm not going to do that because I already know that the R6 is superior. I've already been looking at the R6. It's got everything this camera has and more. This really boils down to price point because if I'm going to upgrade to the R6, I want two, and that's a lot of freaking money, yo. I could probably snag 2 R7 or even one just to have that one camera that I can do 4K 60 with the IBIS. That's kind of where my head is at. I wouldn't necessarily go shooting my photos with it, but if I had 2 EOS R and then I had that one camera when I'm doing video and my hybrid stuff and whatnot to shoot that 4K 60, I might be willing to do that. If you're on the EOS R, if you're a wedding shooter, filmmaker, or photo, I would love to hear what you think about this. If I forgot anything, let me know in the comments, because I'm really interested. And I'm thinking about pulling the plug, and I'm trying to get someone to pull me in either direction. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Peace!